Hey everyone, welcome to Women in Ethereum Protocol Study Group. Today we have Maria Silva with us. She is from the Robust Incentive Groups of Ethereum. And today she share insights from the Ethereum research and her journey with us. So Maria, over to you.
I just prepare some short slides to talk to you a little bit about my journey. Okay, so first, some quick intro. So I am Maria. I'm based in Switzerland. I live here with my family and my cat, but I'm originally from Portugal, so I'm Portuguese. And yeah, I like to read, doing yoga, and also playing board games. So if you have reach out, then I'm happy to talk. So how did I get here? So I started, essentially my background is in mathematics and statistics. So I did a bachelor and master's in this area. And I started in the insurance and fraud detection space. So I was in the traditional finance, and there I was using a lot of statistics and data science and machine learning to work on these topics. Also, at this time, I did a PhD that was applying machine learning for car insurance. And I guess this is kind of the start on the entire research area. So I really liked doing research. I really liked working on interesting problems. But I thought that doing the academic route was not as viable because in terms of financial independence and having enough income for your family, it's a hard sell, mainly in Portugal, where there's not a lot of money for academic research. And so I sort of started in the industry, but I was kind of like at the same time digging my toe on research. And then during that time, I sort of started work in crypto more because I was working in data science and machine learning, and there's tons of data in crypto, right? Everything is free and open. So it's a great space for finding data sets. And then my first job was actually at a company called Elliptic. So they do blockchain analytics too. So they have this product where you can, so an exchange or another regulated entity can screen every time they are receiving or sending assets to check if they are interacting with wallets that are sanctioned or if they are malicious because they are connected with some dark market that sells drugs, all these sort of things. So here was like my really first contact with blockchain data and looking at blockchain activity in general and how to find like these patterns. So it was super fun, but a bit more on the product side and not as much on research. So then after that, I joined Protocol Labs, and I was working on more on the crypto economics and protocol research side. So at there, a lot of our work was around Filecoin, and the governance process is very similar to Ethereum. So there's like a core dev group, and there's researchers, and we both have sort of improvement proposals for improving Filecoin, and then there's discussion and analysis, and we were kind of the economic center team doing that sort of work. And then after that, I joined Matter Lab, so they do ZK Sync, which is a ZK rollup on the Ethereum ecosystem. And here was really more like academic research. So it was a bit more farther from the product side. And it was interesting because it was a bit more closer to the Ethereum ecosystem as a whole. And so I also learned a lot on these. And then I ended up having a grant from the Ethereum Foundation with the Robust Incentives Group that was focused on analysis of gas models. And this was actually my entry point to the EF because work and the collaboration was so good, and it was an area that needed more work. I ended up getting to join the team and work on this full time, let's say. And so now I'm in the Robust Incentives Group, and I guess I'm consider myself a sort of science/researcher. So I'm working on protocol research, thinking about improvement proposals, doing analysis related to that. But I sort of always use my tool set that is very inspired or very based on statistics, machine learning, data science. So I always do tons of data analysis and this sort of work. And so I would say like my usual day-to-day is first, it's important to keep up to date on research and the entire ecosystem. So following papers, academic papers, following blog posts on it, research, reading newsletters to get like a view of the key problems. Also, a lot of my work is focused on the actual research and data analysis. So usually it's like somehow I find a problem. It could be something that someone tells me about, like there's this thing and we should look into this, and I find it interesting and I sort of pick it up. Other times it's more like inspired from the keeping up to date that I do. And then it's all about like defining an approach. So based on the tool set I have, how can I sort of tackle this problem? Usually there's no right way, but you kind of find a feasible approach. Then most of the types of analysis I do require to gathering data and doing some code in Python, analyzing, writing notebooks. So there's also a lot of that. And then finally collecting the results, interpreting and explaining to a wider audience. Also a lot of writing. So I think because we work remote and async, and a lot of our work is also needs to be consumed by people outside of the EF, and for the entire ecosystem, it's really important that things are written down and all the analysis is easy to understand and pick up. So there's a lot of writing the EIPs themselves if there's a proposal, but writing also blog posts, papers. So this is a very important part of our work as well. And also a lot of coordinating with other researchers and engineers. So it's a lot of the problems we tackle are very multifaceted, and you kind of need a lot of interaction with engineers, for instance, to understand the problem or understand why things don't work. Or even when you are in the phase of interpreting results, it's really important to get their insights. And many of times also, it's not something you can do on yourself. You need their help for some component of the analysis. And so there's a lot of coordination with other people. So this is like a quick overview. And this is my cat, so I wanted to share that with you. Yeah, and I'm happy to take any questions. I know the presentation was a bit quick. It's just giving you an overview. So if you want me to dig deeper into anything, just let me know, and I'm happy to discuss.
Okay, thank you very much, Maria. But I have a quick question. So there's this thing that I wanted to get clear on. If you want to become an Ethereum researcher, must you have like a master's and a PhD direction? Is it like a mandatory requirement?
To have a PhD?
Yep, yes.
I would say no. You have tons of people that are considered protocol researchers and they don't have a PhD. I think you do have people that are doing PhDs in this area in specific, and that's helpful. I also think, so in my view, it is not required, but you need to have some of the tools that a PhD will give you. So these tools can be, for instance, knowing how to do a literature review, knowing how to check if an analysis is done correctly or not. And I think this is sort of tools you get when you do a PhD, but these tools you can also get on your own without actually doing a PhD. So it's the way you do it is you need to read a lot of papers, you need to read a lot of analysis, you also need to dive deep into the ecosystem itself. So there could be it's important to know about everything, but maybe you can find some sort of niche that you find interesting and you kind of dig deep and you learn about it. And so you end up being like the expert on that area. So I think, so in short, to be a researcher, I don't think you need a PhD 100%. You just need to find a problem that you like enough to put in the time, because it takes time to get deep into the topics and also to read, like you need to read a lot. You need to sort of get this habit of getting up to date on what is happening and also understanding like what is a good analysis from what is a bad analysis. And this is something you just get with experience and reading a lot.
Okay, thank you very much. That really cleared up a lot. We have a question in the chat. What skills do you consider a crypto researcher must have?
Well, I think that's a hard question because there's so many flavors crypto researcher. Like, as I said, like this is such a wide space. You have people that like ranges from people researching ZK proofs and cryptography to like economics and game theory. So it's like it's a really wide field. So it's hard to pinpoint a specific skill. I think really what you need is you need to find some sort of area in the space that you enjoy and you can understand it and learn about it and spend time there. And then this will give you like the sort of hard skill that you need. Like if the topic you are interested in is cryptography, there's a lot of like maths that you need to know to actually learn and understand what these guys are doing. But like in a more abstract way, like the sort of, I don't know, not the raw skills, but more the general skills you need, I would say you need to know how to write clearly, and you need to know how to expose ideas and explain them in a way that engineers and other researchers can understand them. I think you also need to know the basics of how Ethereum works. But I know that you are doing some of sessions about it, so I guess that will be already like a nice introduction to it. But I don't know. I think at the end of the day, there's like it's very hard to pinpoint skills that you need. I would say the more general thing, I think it's like you need to be able to write and understand technical topics when you read them. And then you need to find some sort of niche that you like, and then you can dedicate time to it. It could be economics, it could be cryptography, it could be like engineering, more engineering style things. But yeah, I think it's kind of up to you and up to your taste.
Okay, thank you very much, Maria. I don't know if that answers your question, Jerry. So there's this other thing I noticed on Rig Iseti's group. They have a Notion page. So if someone wants to get into, since we don't necessarily need a PhD or master's, let's say you want to start getting accustomed to research and all of that. Now, there's this page I always see on Rig Incentives group, right? How do you like tag along to the research in that area? Like apart from its research, the blog, the website, where else you guys have communications about the various research you guys are having? Because I think sometime last day was an interest. I picked an interest in one research topic, but I couldn't find a further information on how to go about it or join the discussions that is related to that.
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure like we have a public channel for that as a team. I think like if you want to have a view on the things we are working on at the moment, I think we have our website, and that's best sort of like thoughts and blog posts and papers we are working on. I think I can share the link after. Also, the Notion page you were referring, I think, is also a good source, but it's more for like what interesting problems we are not currently working on, but could be interesting to work on. So it's like things that could be interesting, but we don't have people working on them yet. And I would say, like, to me, like a good source of keeping up to date on like ideas and topics that people are working on. And I think this tends to lean a bit into more the economic side, and like the a lot of DeFi also is the MEV newsletter from Flashbots. So you receive every week a summary of like a curated list of papers and blog posts, and it's always related a bit with game theory, economics, but also DeFi, MEV. So I think it's an interesting mix, and I really like that newsletter. But I don't know. I think the way to go about it is if you are looking at these sources and you find like a problem or you find like a blog post that you think, oh, this is an interesting topic that I would like to work on. I think the best way is really to try to reach out to the person directly. Like this is how I sort of started to do the RIG grant. I reached out to Barnaby and said, so there's this topic, I find it really interesting. Is it something that you are currently working on? Is there something I can do to collaborate with you? And he sort of said, yeah, we actually need someone to work on this, so it would be nice. And so I think reaching out to the people directly, usually researchers can look intimidating, but they will be like super happy to talk about the topics they are working on, because usually there's not a lot of people interested in those topics. So I would say just reach out to the researchers directly, and yeah, if you feel like it's a topic you like, I'm sure we will find some way for you to get involved in it.
Go on,
Hope that
Jerry.
answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Go on, Jerry.
Hi, thank you for being here. I have a very simple question. I have been exploring the Discord channel, reading the blog as well, but I still don't know how could be like an advice or how to approach a start team participating in the research team more actively, because what I do right now is just reading and exploring, and sometimes I don't even understand what I'm reading, so I'm just read more. But yeah, I would like to be more active. I just don't know how. So for a beginner, what would you recommend? Like, what's the correct path for you? Thank you.
Right. So is there like any specific area that you are sort of interested in?
Yeah, economics.
So you are fully on economics. Okay, so I'd say, so I probably I would say like reaching out to people, and maybe we can talk after and think about like so I think the best way for you to get into research and starting is to start doing it, right? Like, and to start doing it, the first step is to find the problem that you are interested in and you can tackle. And I know that, like, from my PhD experiences, this is usually the hardest part, is finding the problem. But so I guess like the best way to do it is first, like, have a look at the recent like blog posts that are being shared. Take a look at the Robust Incentives Group open problems, see if something like piques your interest. And also I'm happy to schedule a call or something and go over like some, I would say like try to write down possible problems that could be interesting for you to work on. And then I can give feedback and say, okay, this sounds promising, or this may be too hard. Yeah, but I'd say the best way is just to start doing some research and do your first blog post on it research.
Great, thank you. I'll be texting you soon then.
Sounds good.
Go on, Ellen.
Thank you. Hi. Okay, so my question is, if I wanted to research about something, where would I start looking? I mean, all over the network, or are there specific sites where I can look? And also, which topics? I mean, you mentioned some topics, but I wonder, for an example, I'm a lawyer and I also am a developer, but maybe I would like to do some research from the lawyer side. Is that possible?
Okay, so for me, it's a bit hard to tell you like topics within like the lawyer space, because I'm not at all familiar with that. But in terms of the best place, I would say, so I think so. The research thing is it's hard to get advice on for one reason, is every time you are doing research, you are sort of tackling a problem that it's sort of new, right? It's like you can have previous works that tackle the problem similar or something in the area, but you are actually doing something new. So you are the expert on that. And so you need to know enough of the area to figure out. And actually, I would say like usually picking up two areas that seem to not connect and connecting them is usually where the more interesting research problems come. So you're saying like, I have a lawyer background, but I also am a software developer. Like this is something that you usually don't find in a person. So I would expect that you can find like really interesting topics to work on that merge these two areas. I just don't know enough to tell you what those topics are. But in terms of like where do you look for that, I'd say maybe you can start with academic research, like trying to find papers or things like maybe governance space could be interesting. I'm not sure. And then also, again, I think sources always is research. You have like the latest discussions and the things that that are, yeah, I'm not sure what else, but I would say the only thing that comes to mind is really maybe something around governance could be interesting. or maybe around privacy, because there might be like some interesting things around privacy and how that applies to, like, I don't know, sanction entities and all of that. Like, how can you make the use of privacy applications compliant and these sort of things? I don't know, just random thoughts. But I think like what you are asking is really the hardest thing for a researcher, is like, how do you find a topic? And it's really about, you need to read things and see what types of things caught your eye and sort of interest you, and then you sort of have a foothold, and from there you can start doing research. Like, you can start looking for papers of people that are doing things on the side. You can start looking for research blog posts, and you can start trying to find collaborators, so people that you see on blog posts or papers that are working on similar things, and reach out to them. But you first need to kind of pick something, because it's hard to go from like a very wide field and say, yeah, I just want to do research. You kind of need to funnel it a bit.
Great. Thank you.
Pooja?
Hey, thank you, Maria, for joining us here today. I would like to quickly maybe respond to Eileen's point and again reinforce on your point of governance. I believe that lawyer and software background can be very helpful in terms of dealing with EIPs. Sometimes we come across some situation where we are not sure what kind of licensing is the appropriate one. Generally speaking, in Ethereum space, we generally prefer CC0 licensing, but in that proposal, sometimes we come across some references which may have different licensing, sometimes MIT, GPL, or things like that. And that is a difficult situation for editors. So perhaps looking more into governance side and trying to help our editors could be one avenue which can be explored and researched more. So we can come to a situation or a solution where we can actually list all kind of licensing that is acceptable as a part of proposal. So yeah, that's one of my suggestions. And as I mentioned that I am very much interested in governance, Maria, I have a question for you. This is the first time I'm seeing a meta E for gas proposals that list a bunch of proposals. I'm not sure what we are going to see in the final upgrade, but I'm really curious to understand how we see this thing evolving and how we are going to shortlist and how people can start working on implementation of these proposals when we are considering it for future upgrade.
Yeah. So I think that's a great point. So for context, so usually we have individual EIPs, and each of them is kind of separately discussed to see, is it going to that fork or not? And then you have like independent implementations and testing, and then at some point everything gets merged together and you have your fork and you test it as a whole. For the next fork, so Go Amsterdam, we sort of had which is focused on scalability. We are working on a major overhaul of the gas costs. So making sure that a lot of things will be repriced, so to make sure that things are harmonized and the different operations make sense, like there's no single bottlenecks in terms of performance. So essentially you are kind of like, this is something that is not intuitive, because I always thought this was the case, but if you think about it, it's like the costs are not the same. It's like one unit of computation doesn't cost the same with a specific operation versus another. Like, for instance, if you are doing a multiplication or you are doing an addition, the actual gas cost per compute unit is not the same. And so we are kind of trying to harmonize that. Within that, there's like, now I think there's like 8 or 9 EIPs that are just focusing on repricings of different things. And at the time we were thinking like we could have a single EIP that does everything, but I think that would be too confusing, because even the methodologies of how you set the prices differ depending on depending on the operations. And so, but also having the EIP separate could be a mess, because you need to make sure that the costs are harmonized between each other. Otherwise, like, the exercise is mute. And also because there's a lot of EIPs, it can be a bit overwhelming. And so the idea was, let's do this meta EIP where we list all the repricing EIPs. And I don't know how this will evolve in the future, but my personal view on it is that this EIP is just for informational purposes. So it shouldn't be a governance, so it shouldn't influence governance decision. So what I mean by this is that we are still discussing EIP by EIP. So the fact that two EIPs are there doesn't mean that they need to be approved together. It's just a single point where people can go over and see, okay, this is the repricing EIPs. And at some point we might update, like once the final list is finalized, we may even just say, okay, these were the ones that were considered and now they are rejected. And these are the ones that are actually in Amsterdam. So it's just a point of reference that you can go and see all the EIPs that are repricing related. And the reason why we are bundling them this way is because they will need to be tested together. If you want to harmonize things, you cannot just test them independently. You need to bring all the changes and make sure that they are not like interactions or weird things. Like you want to test them together. So even though I don't think it will be a governance or decision artifact, it will be more an organizational thing that will help us coordinate the work around these EIPs. At least that's my hope.
Well, I have a follow-up if you don't mind here.
Sure.
So I'm specifically talking about EIP 8007. So I'm just trying to understand what do we see this EIP ending up as? Is it going to be something which is going to be updated time to time for future upgrades, or is it just one-time effort that could be considered for Amsterdam and we will move the proposal into finalized status?
So I would say it's still a proposal for Amsterdam. It will be updated as we work on Amsterdam, but then after Amsterdam, I think we won't use it anymore. I don't think it will be like something that is included in the fork, if that makes sense, because again, this is just an informational EIP, but I would assume it's just an EIP that we use throughout the development of the fork to help us organize the work. And then once Amsterdam is done, it's done.
Right. That's a very fair point. Perhaps we should look into the type and category of the proposal and move it to informational if it is for that particular purpose.
It is already informational.
No, actually,
Yeah.
I'm looking at it as a meta-EIP.
Okay.
But that's a very small thing. It is still in the draft because it can be adjusted. Thank you so much, Maria, for providing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, did you say Esme?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I didn't understand you. Oh yeah, no, I just thought she said there was a robust incentives group with open problems. Did I mishear?
No, there's a Notion page with open problems from the robust incentives group. I can share the link after.
Oh, okay, that was my only question.
Thank you. I think we'll get the link from Maria, the slides and other related links, then we'll share it on our Discord. But if you have any questions, you can unmute and ask. Like this is the first female researcher you've hosted in WiEP Cohort for. So it's just drop our questions on the chat. You can unmute, ask your questions, feel free. At least we are not feeling it's us here. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns on how to be a researcher, on how to continue working on Ethereum, she's the perfect fit. Like I think she will help us direct us better.
I mean, okay,
I'm not
sure.
sure.
Okay, so if you were to write an ad for robust incentives group, just theoretically, shortly, how would you write that ad? How would you word it? What you were looking for?
So I don't think I can do it out of the top of my head, but I can send you. So we have an open position. So we are not actively hiring for it at the moment, but it's an open position that has like a full description of the type of profile that usually the team hires. So I can share that afterwards, and you can have an idea of what the profile looks like.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Sorry, I don't know if I should ask this, but there was this internship opportunity by EF team. And when I looked at the list of categories of teams that are interested in hiring an intern, RIG was there. So like, what's like a basic day-to-day workflow of an intern? Like, what's the expectation around the internship? Although I noticed that it clearly says masters or just recently graduated. So
yeah, so I think the way that we are looking at the internships is like we are looking for like people just finish school and they are looking for like their first opportunity, or like their first, let's say, more, how do I say, like their first professional or more professional experience. And yeah, we are just looking for smart people that kind of can receive a problem and work on it independently. Of course, we will help and mentor, but it's really like we are looking for young people that want to work on these sort of topics and want to get deep into the ecosystem and that can work independently. I think so. Yeah, I would also add, like, since I joined the Robust Incentives group in March this year, I haven't been through an internship round yet with the team, so I don't know what the process usually is. But from my past experience with other internships on other companies, usually it's like you are looking for someone that, so you will have a mentor. Usually, I think in this case will also do. So you kind of have a mentor. The mentor is there to give you a problem to work on, which, as we discussed, is usually one of the hardest things to find, but they will give you a problem. And then they will also support you throughout. But you do need to kind of be self-directed. Like you need to come up with solutions. You need to want to read and research and figure out how to tackle. And then you'll come and discuss with your mentor and they will advise you. But most of the work will be done by you. And at the end, you might have academic paper or you may have some blog posts. But usually it's sort of relationship where you are given a problem. The problem is short. It's like focus on something that can be tackled in those months, and you'll have your mentor that kind of talks with you and advises you, but you'll have to be self-directed.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a follow-up question. This has to do with let's see, what's like the current hot topic or hot research areas for the RIG team currently? Like, what's their core? Like, what's their main focus? What are they like currently what's their high priority tasks right now?
Right. So I wouldn't say we have a single high priority. Like each person is working on a lot of different topics. So for instance, I'm working a lot on gas repricings, and that's a big topic now for Amsterdam. We have some people working on P2P. So if there's this idea that there's a lot on the P2P layer that can be optimized, even like the protocol for who do you send some message to, like which of the peers do you connect to and which peers do you send this message to. So there's a lot of optimizations that can be done there. So we have some people working on that, and that's the topic. There's also a big topic on prover markets that Julian has been recently working on, like how do you design a prover market once we have a zkVM. Like there's some things that we are starting to look into, like, so we have fossil, and the whole censorship resistant. We have Thomas that is kind of like the expert on that. So there's also work on that. There's also some work on the mempool. So now with Fusaka, we are increasing a lot the blob count. But that brings a problem to the mempool because now the mempool will be overloaded with blobs. And even though on the consensus layer, blobs are like the nodes don't have to download all the blocks, they just download a sample. On the execution layer for the mempool, they do have to get all the blobs in the mempool. And so there's some thought around how can you redesign the mempool so you don't have to, like, you can sort of solve these overblown of the mempool. I think there's also something that will become very important in the medium term. So after Amsterdam, which will be the whole staking dynamics and the types of nodes, the testers, like the roles of a tester, validator, like separating very clearly those roles and how that connects then with staking and the staking curve. So I think that will be another area that we'll be working on. So yeah, it's very varied. I guess like a lot of problems require like an economics view on it, and we end up working on a lot of different things. But I say like these are the topics that well in the robust incentives group are currently working.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. That was really helpful. So I'm not sure if you have any questions for Maria. This is like the best opportunity to lay out her concerns on how to become a researcher on Ethereum.
I think Aranda and we were trying to find the MEVBot newsletter. I had the link at one point, but if you could just share it with us in chat, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, so if it's okay, I'll share it at the end. So I'll put everything, the MEV newsletter, the robust incentives group website, the open problems, and position for the team. So those three, I'll share all of that at the end.
Thank you. Okay, I think we don't. I'm not sure if you have any other questions. Arunima, do you have anything to say?
No, like maybe one question I have, like I was working on the DAS research, so I'm a part of the like status team that was working on the DAS research. I recently graduated and I'm working on the P2P research now. So any tips you have for like any tips, any do's and don'ts that you have you want to share?
So do you mean in general of being a researcher? Yeah.
Yeah, in general, being a researcher in this field, because I'm new, so sometimes I do feel very underconfident.
So yeah, so I think that can be hard. Like when you are starting, it's sort of, it can be overwhelming. I think like something that helps me a bit is thinking like usually the other people are also feeling that way. So it's not just you. It's like all of us have imposter syndrome at any point in our lives. And so I think as long as you keep writing, keep producing work, you are contributing to the ecosystem, and that's valuable on its own. I think on general do's and don'ts. So I would say to me something that I find that I can do sometimes and I shouldn't, is I will start with a problem, zoom in on a solution, and just run with it without talking with other people. Like this is something that I will tend to do a lot, and I kind of have to always like pinch myself and say, no, you should talk to people, because usually your first solution is not the right one. And so I would say, like, once you are starting to tackle a problem, try to discuss that problem with people that have a different background than you. Like if you're a researcher, make sure you talk with core devs, engineers, and other people. They will give you a different view on it. And at the end, your solution will be much more richer for it. And also it will, like if you are already targeting writing an EIP, that is even more important, because you may be thinking about a design space that is even not feasible at all because of some constraint that you are not aware of. So starting from the get-go to talk with the people that will have the decision of whether that thing will be implemented or not, I think it's a good sanity check. Also, I would say, and this is something that I sometimes also fall into, and I also need to remind myself not to do as much, is think that good is good. Something good that is out is better than something perfect that never gets finished, you know? So sometimes it's like, don't fall into the trap of not sharing early results because you feel like they are not perfect. So I think a good thing of this ecosystem is actually the feedback loop. Like share something on its research, and like the day after you'll have comments and people asking, oh, have you thought of these, or what do you think of these, or why did you X and Y? And so I think that's a really healthy thing, and it's really like helpful for you to grow as a researcher, and also for the analysis to be better than if no one was reviewing it. So I think that fast feedback is really important. So it's better to kind of do something in steps and share early results rather than working a lot on your corner and then sharing everything at the end. So I think that's also an advice I would give. And yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else. No, I don't think I have anything else. Yeah, I think those are the two, maybe a bit more personal ones, but yeah, it's what comes to mind.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maria.
I just had one last. What's your cat's name?
It's Joey.
Okay, it's cute.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess we don't have any other questions for today. Sure, we can wrap up here. Arunima, please, can you?
Yeah, I think if we don't have any further questions, we can wrap up now.
Thank you so much, Maria and Arunima, Mercy, for making this day happen. I mean, this is very first time for Cohort. We are having a female speaker, and Maria, you've shared a lot of word of advice with all the participants of Cohort 4. Thank you so much for taking out time and joining us here. Have a great day, Have a great rest of the day, everyone.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you. You
Thank
too.
you. Bye, everyone. Thank you,
Bye.
Maria.
Bye.
Bye.